I'm William Sanchez, and this is the Philosophical Rebellion Substack. Today, I'm going to talk about the American Politics section of my book, The Stories They Don't Want You to Know, which is available on Amazon. In this section, I talk about the Biden and Trump presidencies, what they've been accused of, and what they're actually guilty of. Then I talk about David Grush and what he disclosed about unidentified aircraft flying within American airspace, and what that probably means about aliens. After that, I talk about how to be a responsible consumer of media in an era of fake news. And then I end the American Politics section by talking about the crisis at the southern border, and the ideology I think America should use to approach the crisis. So, the first paper that I wrote in June of 2023 was why Biden should participate in a Democratic primary. For an incumbent president to participate in a primary actually elevates the entire party. So if Biden were to participate in a discussion about democratic visions for America with a bunch of different democratic leaders, it would actually increase selling their ideas to the American people. And that's exactly what happened in Biden's first election, where there was a very contentious Democratic primary, and a lot of his best policy decisions came out of what the different Democrats were arguing for in their primary. And it also offers voters another opportunity to have their voices heard. And the most important reason it was important for Joe Biden to participate in a Democratic primary was because of his age, which many voters view as a concern. So, in the middle of 2023, I wrote, "A primary would have many benefits. It would engage the American electorate with perspectives from within the Democratic Party, as well as offer Biden the opportunity to demonstrate his mental fitness before getting into the general election. Aside from a true lack of mental or physical ability, why would Biden and the DNC miss that opportunity?" My next two chapters in The Stories They Don't Want You to Know are on Donald Trump's crimes related to January 6th and the seditious conspiracy he led to try to overturn the election, which he knew that he lost. But I'm going to record a separate podcast to go over those two chapters in detail. I then go on in the book to talk about Joe Biden's corruption allegations. What I wrote was in September 2023. And at the time, although the Republican Party had been investigating Joe Biden's corruption for multiple years, they had been unable to directly tie any of Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings with Joe Biden. So although Hunter Biden did not register as a foreign agent and had some other drug and weapons-related charges, nothing has actually stuck to Joe Biden. And the Republican case against Joe Biden has actually gotten weaker since I published that paper. But my paper itself is actually titled, Biden's Allegations, Trump's Corruption, because Joe Biden is being accused of changing American policy to benefit the foreign business partners of Hunter Biden. But we know for a fact that Donald Trump is financially involved with the Saudi government. And we also know that Jared Kushner received a $2 billion investment, even though he's a terrible investor, from the Saudi government. MBS, the leader of Saudi Arabia, even said that he had Jared Kushner in his pocket. So what did Jared Kushner and Donald Trump sell policy-wise to the Saudi government? Weapon sales that Congress had already passed a resolution to block. Donald Trump vetoed that resolution. Then the United States blocked a UN Security Council resolution regarding their genocide in Yemen. And also, when the American intelligence community concluded that MBS ordered the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, Donald Trump said, "I saved his ass," regarding MBS. Meaning that the United States was going to respond militarily to the assassination of an American journalist. But Donald Trump personally intervened to save the person who ordered that assassination. Those are just a few of the many ways that the Donald Trump administration sold out the American people to foreign governments. But onto a lighter note, aliens are probably here. That's based on congressional testimony David Grush gave to Congress saying that there are biologics and spacecraft recovered that the United States government is running secret programs to reverse engineer and collect, and that those programs are being illegally withheld even from members of Congress with oversight access. So David Grush was a longtime Air Force veteran. Then he went and served at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, where he said that he served at a GS-15 civilian level, which was the military equivalent of a full bird colonel. And in that agency, he led the investigation into unidentified anomalous phenomenon, where he said he interviewed more than 40 former and current government officials with first-hand knowledge of those special access programs. And he encouraged a thorough investigation into whether or not those programs exist, saying he would give the congressional officials a witness list and exact locations of those spacecraft if they were given access to a classified briefing room. And it actually took months for those congressional officials to be given access to that classified briefing room to even see the protected disclosures from David Grush. But it was actually Ryan Graves and David Fravor that gave the more interesting congressional testimony alongside David Grush. Graves and Fravor are veterans who piloted American aircraft and said that they had first-hand accounts with these UAPs, and that those UAPs were doing maneuvers far beyond anything any human aircraft could accomplish. That included dropping down from space, instant acceleration to speeds far beyond what the fastest human aircraft could even go, dropping down into the ocean and then coming back out, and doing all of that with no visible signs of propulsion. What's even crazier is that these sightings go back decades and have been confirmed by eyewitness accounts alongside multiple different sensors, which are the best that the American military has to offer to monitor American airspace. So based on all of those factors, I would bet that aliens are probably visiting Earth. At least their technology. But there should be a thorough investigation into all of the accusations from David Grush regarding special access programs illegally withholding craft and possibly even alien life from Congress. The next part of my book is on fake news, because there's a lot more media created with the intent to manipulate people than there is created to accurately inform people. And a lot of people that appear as news sources are actually opinion commentary, where they selectively cherry pick stories in order to build a narrative about a topic, instead of accurately explaining all of the facts of the situation. So a lot of times, in order to build their narrative, they are suppressing major aspects of the story which disagree with their narrative. So in order for you to not be misinformed, it's important to seek sources that disagree with each other. That way you're getting all of the facts of the situation. So it is important to avoid living in a media bubble and wait to form your beliefs until you have a solid grasp of all of the facts of the situation. And always remain skeptical of the media that you're taking in. And the last chapter in the American politics section of my book is on the crisis at the southern border. Because there is a mass humanitarian crisis and security threat at our southern border. But there is also a lot of fear-mongering about migration. So in the chapter, I include many recommendations which I think would help solve the problem. But we also need to address the mentality we have to solving the problem of mass migration. And that means we as Americans need to rethink how we feel about immigration. And I included a series of quotes from a bunch of American political officials portraying the view that I think Americans should take towards immigration. We are a country where people of all backgrounds, all nations of origin, all languages, all religions, all races can make a home. America was built by immigrants. Remember, always remember, that all of us, you and I, especially, are descended from immigrants and revolutionists. Every aspect of the American economy has profited from the contributions of immigrants. What has happened to us in this country? If we study our own history, we find that we have always been ready to receive the unfortunate from other countries. And though this may seem a generous gesture on our part, we have profited 1,000-fold by what they have brought us. Nearly all Americans have ancestors who braved the oceans, liberty-loving risk-takers in search of an ideal, the largest voluntary migrations in recorded history. Immigration is not just a link to America's past, it is a bridge to America's future. I received a letter just before I left office. I don't know why he chose to write it, but I'm glad he did. He wrote that you can go live in France, but you can't become a Frenchman. You can go live in Germany or Italy, but you can't become a German or an Italian. He went through Turkey, Greece, Japan, and other countries, but he said anyone from any corner of the world can come live in the United States and become an American. What makes someone American isn't just blood or birth, but allegiance to our founding principles and faith in the idea that anyone from anywhere can write the next chapter of our story. We welcome refugees not because they are American, but because we are American. And those quotes are from across the political spectrum, from George H.W. Bush and Reagan to JFK and Barack Obama. So my personal view, which I wrote in my book, is that a legitimate path to citizenship needs to be created in hundreds of nations worldwide, and reasonable accommodations need to be provided for the human beings in the meantime. So I think the United States should welcome in many more people than we currently do. And I think that criminalizing migrants is wrong, and vilifying them for all of the issues in America is also wrong. Instead, we should set an example of how a proper immigration system should work, treating people as human beings worthy of respect. That's the end of the American politics section of my book, The Stories They Don't Want You to Know, which is available on Amazon.